2020 forced you to reinvent yourself? I want to provide some ways that you can navigate these waters of reinventing because of the year 2020. How's it going, reinventors? I'm Amelia. This is Reinventing You, the channel where you can be inspired to take your own reinventing journey, your own reinventing steps in order to make major changes in your life. I want to inspire you so that you can live a life of joy, fulfillment, and purpose. I usually post twice a week. Recently, it's been very difficult. There have been things in my life that have been happening because of this year, and with things, in general going on, life in general, I have not been able to get as much done as I would have liked to on this channel. However, today I had an inspiration for a video idea. A lot of times I let these things kind of percolate and think about them and consider them and write them down, but I didn't with this video idea. I wanted to go ahead and get started. One of the things that really struck me is that there have been a lot of people who have made a lot of changes in this year. And even if you don't claim to have reinvented yourself, you really have reinvented yourself, because number one, you're wearing a mask in public, I hope, and you're social distancing, and you're doing all those Zoom meetings. You know what I mean. We have all had to reinvent ourselves in one way or another. Now, reinventing is making major changes in your life, and it could be in your career, it could be in your health, it could be in relationships, or there are other ways that you can be spiritually, you can be mentally. All of those things have to do with reinventing yourself. I know that a lot of people have had difficulties in their marriages. A lot of people have had difficulties keeping relationships strong, especially in this political climate, when a lot of people are expressing different opinions and just really kind of having sort of a anxiety attack, I guess, or at one another. And also, a lot of times in our relationships, even online, we've had to defriend people because we don't agree with what they've said or things that they've posted. What happens a lot of times in social media, you don't get the same message or the same understanding of why people said what they put on Facebook or Instagram like you would if you were in person. So that has made a big deal in our relationships. I've known marriages that have fallen apart. We've seen that a lot on social media. People have come together, have been closer during this time, and yet it's brought out some problems that were maybe there all along, and we're able to cover it up with work or other social events or things that are not happening right now. Also, a lot of people have had a lot of health problems. Now, I'm talking COVID-19 has been a big deal, but also some people have not been exercising. They've been eating more. People have been gaining weight because of the anxiety, blood pressure, mental problems. A lot of people have gotten on different types of medicine for anxiety or depression. I know people who've been hospitalized for the same. During this time, it's just been a great deal of stress, and the world has just really changed. People don't handle change very well, and of course that's what reinventing is all about. On top of everything else, a lot of people have lost their jobs, and in fact, most of the people who are no longer working are women. Now, sometimes in certain cases, women have had to stop because they've had to stay at home to be with their kids who are quarantined or shelter in place, or being educated at home and homeschooled. So all of those things that have happened have really changed a lot of careers. Now, you may be retirement age, thought you were done raising kids, and now you're taking care of your grandkids. All of those things have happened in this year of 2020. Many of you have become unemployed, whether it's because of maybe your employer has gone out of business, or your industry is not maybe at home now, and what part of your job was to see people face to face, and that's no longer necessary. Maybe you filed unemployment, maybe you haven't, maybe your unemployment has run out. All of these things means that you have been forced to reinvent yourself. I cannot sit here and cover every single thing that has happened and what you might be able to do, but I can give you some guidelines, and I'm going to give you 10 of them that will hopefully help you in your reinventing process. The number one thing is you need to figure out what it is you're reinventing yourself You cannot say, oh, I'm gonna, I'm leaving my spouse and I'm gonna go on this diet and I'm going to get training to do this new work online. You've got to start somewhere. So the first thing you've got to say, okay, where do I start? What is my first priority? And you may say, okay, right now it's got to be my job, or right now it's got to be my health. So that's the first thing you need to do. The second thing you need to do in this time of uncertainty is you need to seek some professional help. It could be counseling, it could be coaching. It's somebody to get you through this time, because, or even, even if you don't seek counseling or coaching, maybe make sure you visited your physician and make sure, how healthy are you? If you know you've lost weight, what are some other problems that you need to do? Maybe you say, well, I don't feel like I need to go to my doctor, but I really got to lose weight and I've got to have some motivation. Well, find a fitness coach or a dietitian who you can, meet with online and can help you navigate through this time and get you back on your healthy track. All of those things are so important because this pandemic and everything that's happened in the world. What? Hang on. I have to interrupt right here and say that I have had such a hard time getting this video done. You don't even know, my battery just ran out. And I had checked it. I said I have enough time to do one more video before I have to plug it in. But obviously it wasn't enough time. So all I can say is I think my memory card ran out, the battery died, I couldn't get the tripod. I have my really cheap tripod because it's outside. The noises in the neighborhood. Oh my gosh. Okay, hang on. Let me get some coffee. What I was saying is that I was on the second idea of what you need to do to help yourself and to get professional help. The third thing that you need to do is simply figure out what your goal is. Okay, you know what you're doing, you've got some professional help to get you through it. What are some steps that you need to take? Don't try to do everything at one time. You will find yourself burned out or exhausted or overwhelmed very quickly. So kind of write down, I know the old-fashioned thing, type it out, something where you have it in front of you and break it down into little doable steps. The fourth thing that you can do is simply do one thing a day. Just one thing. That's why it's so important to break your lists down, your goals down, into very small, doable steps. And like your first thing one day would be to write your major goals down. And the second thing would be to break it down in little steps. And then the third thing is maybe reorganize. See what I'm saying? Do something each and every day. If you've got to have training, then take one day and say, how can I afford the training? And then the next day, get some more help and go online and figure out where the training is, what time it is, what's the schedule, all of those kinds of things. I'm just trying to give you examples of things that you can do to help yourself. I think we're on the fifth thing. The next thing that you can do when you are reinventing, when you're forced to reinvent yourself because of 2020, is to keep it up, to keep the momentum. When you reach the point of WTH effect, the what the hell effect, if you find yourself backsliding, you have one day or even 2 days where you don't do anything toward your goals, don't give up and say, well, I just can't do it. Continue, start over the next day, do one thing. That will, that just kind of helps you move it along. The next thing that I recommend you do, no matter what you're changing, is to make sure you get your sleep. I've talked about it in other videos. I have a video that I did on sleep. Sleep is so important, whether you are working on mental, physical, or relational goals. You have got to have your rest. So make that a priority. And that has been really hard for me because I know that my sleep has not been as good during the pandemic. So the better you can get your sleep, whatever you need to do that. If you find yourself dependent on some kind of pill, whether it's some kind of sleeping pill or what is it? Something. There's another one that you can take. Try other methods besides that, because that can become addictive and isn't always the best thing for you. I recommend all kinds of stuff. I probably should do another video on sleep because I think it's so important. The next thing that I suggest you do, and I'm saying the next thing because I cannot remember what number I'm on. I'm just telling you, this came to me, and it didn't come to me in the shower, but it came to me walking around working on another video. Another thing that you need to do in reinventing yourself during this time of 2020 is to also do some looking back. Like, what are some things that you have done well, what you're proud of, what are your accomplishments, what are some talents you have, all of those things, and try to see what are those things are, and can they move forward into this new reality that you find yourself in. What are some things that can help you to make life a lot easier and the transition and change of reinventing a lot easier. Sometimes it's just simply being proud of yourself for reinventing yourself in any other way in your life, and that you can do the same. Like, for instance, you might say, well, I'm having to leave my spouse or my partner during this time. It's just been a really hard time for us, even though we've basically been each other's face 24/7, and it's not been a good experience. Well, remember, when you first got with that spouse or partner, you had to make some changes. There were some things you had to do. If you got in a serious relationship, whether you moved in together or got married, you had to make some changes. You reinvented yourself. You reinvented yourself from being single to being in a relationship. So this is just the same kind of thing, but you were able to do that, and you can do this. And there may be some grief involved, but there's probably other things in your life that you are grieved over, maybe, or another relationship with a friend, or another relationship with a partner or spouse. So you know you can get through it, but you just have to give yourself credit for that and know that it is possible. It's not going to happen overnight. And see, number two, where you need to be getting professional help, especially if you're going through that kind of relationship change. It's very important to have some kind of counseling to get you through it. Celebrate when you have done it, whether it is made part of your goals or accomplished it, or maybe it's just simply you've stuck with it for a couple of months or 30 days. You pick. Give yourself a pat on the back. Say, okay, you can do this. And I think the last thing, maybe it's the bonus, maybe it's number 10, I'm not really sure at this point, is to know that even though it feels like this year has lasted forever, it has not. We will have a new year. There will be opportunities ahead that will seem a lot more hopeful. You have worked through it, and you can do this. Just to have a reinventor's mindset can help you tremendously. And okay, this is editing Amelia to say that because I didn't have anything written down for this video, I miscounted, and I actually only gave you 9 things to do. But really, the third thing I said, that put your goals in writing and take smaller and break those down into action steps, should be 2 different steps. In other words, you write down your major goals, and then the next step would be to break them down into smaller action steps, because that really is, well, they're both equally difficult, but sometimes that can be hard. And really, the bonus point that I need to make in this video is to watch this channel for more inspiration. And speaking of help, please let me know in the comments below if you are being forced to go through a transition, a reinventing in this time of 2020. Please give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. Please stay well, take care of yourself, get your sleep, reinvent yourself, stick with it, and I'll see you in the next one.